Pregame.tv, big NFL game. Houston Texans off an embarrassing loss to Baltimore. They host Seattle, and Seattle 3-0 looks like the best team in the NFL right now. We'll see after this week. VR, let's start with you. You're
Seattle is not
feeling the
Seattle is
coffee love,
not the best team in the NFC. The team's not winning the Super Bowl. Stop talking about if they get home field advantage, no one's going to beat them at home.
not the best team in the NFC, you said.
No, not.
Who's better?
Saints are better than them. Saints would beat them in New Orleans. Saints would probably go to Seattle and give them a run for their money and probably beat them. There's been a long time since the team with the best record has won a Super Bowl. Let's just leave it at that. So let them keep winning in the regular season. And once the playoff comes, they ain't going anywhere. So I'm telling you that right now. Get off that Seattle bandwagon quickly. This team cannot win on the road. They haven't proven they could win on the road. Week 1, they went to Carolina. They were down at the half. They won the game by 5 points.
Idiot running back fumble.
They won by 5 points in Carolina. What have they done since? They've won at home, where you're expected to win at home. Big deal. You beat San Fran. Indianapolis beat San Fran in San Fran. You beat Jacksonville. You were a 20-point favorite. You're supposed to beat Jacksonville.
Well, they did
so
win
why are
both
you
those.
crowned the Super Bowl champs already? Save it. Save it. I'm telling you now. This line before the season started was correct.
Flip over the
Was
favorite.
correct. Houston, a 2.5-point favorite when the season started.
Early start time.
Right now, this game should be Houston about a 1-point favorite at home. You're getting, 3 points. Even last week.
Not for long, probably.
Last week, you could have walked into the Superbook and you could have bet Seattle and you could have laid 2.5 on them. Now, all of a sudden, you got to lay that key number of 3. Why? Because they beat Jacksonville? Really? Because they annihilated Jacksonville? Or because Houston got beat by Baltimore, who, as we talked about in the last video, had so much motivation. It was a great spot for them, and Houston's been turning the ball over. I like Houston in this game. Houston's a team that, if you forgot, they were one of only 2 teams that top 10 last year, offense and defense. They're a team that wins 12 games pretty much every season.
Great running game. Great running backs.
2-1. They played 2 of their 3 games on the road. Okay, Seattle, we know what you do with Seattle. I don't even need the notes. Here's what you do with Seattle. You bet them when they're at home. You fade them when they're on the road. Why would you want to change that now? Why? Give me a reason why I want to bet Seattle and lay points with them on the road.
Is it my turn?
Go ahead. Give it to me.
The last 3 years, Seattle's 8-6-3 against the spread on the road.
That's a 14-game sample size.
If you shop, you make money, 9-8.
But the point is, going back the last decade, they've been terrible. They've been a complete go against. But the talent level on Seattle is so much better now. A concern I have here for Seattle is this is their first game, or the first of 4 road games in the next 5 weeks. They play at Arizona Thursday Night Football, at St. Louis Monday Night Football. So when you're taking a look at them playing an AFC team here, obviously this game doesn't have as much importance. Seattle, 10-1 overall spread run. The last 12 times they played a team with a winning record, they covered every time. They get up to play these good football teams. My concern, and from a handicapping standpoint, I understand why you would not want to play Seattle here, especially if it's 3. I think it's leaking down now. I don't think it'll be 3 come game time. But what has Houston done right now to make you want to play on Houston? They have not looked good in any game that they've
Turnovers, but we know that turnovers are random. Unless
I don't know about that.
Fumbles are random.
Schaub has been throwing some very ugly pick six. He threw the one against Baltimore. You saw it on last night.
Right.
And the one against Tennessee was really bad. They were down 1. Remember that 17-16?
Right.
His receiver runs an out pattern and runs a fly and doesn't come back for the ball, and he just throws a duck 40 yards. The guy could have walked into the end zone. Bryan Leonard would have scored on that play.
No.
He would have gotten down.
But they went down and they won the game. I'm just saying, here's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because Hopkins played out of his mind and caught the ball over the kid's head.
This argument isn't even about Houston. It's about Seattle. And why?
You're not so much back in
I'm
Houston.
not. No, I'm fading Seattle.
Houston's a 10-win team.
That's
you
it.
got over 9.5.
That's all I wanted.
You're going to cash
exactly
by half a game.
Exactly. They may not even win the division, and you'll cash that ticket. But I don't see why Seattle all of a sudden is the best team in the NFL. What have they done? Did they win the Super Bowl last year? That I didn't see? Did I miss something?
They had a little trouble.
Did I miss something?
Little trouble in the second half in the Georgia Dome.
Did I miss something? No, they couldn't get past Atlanta last year. Yeah. What have they done this year? Who have they beaten? They've beaten Jacksonville. They've beaten San Fran, who the Colts beat San Fran.
They did win by 100 in that game.
It was a Sunday night game. It got out of hand.
It was 5-0 before the lights went out.
And they got lucky against Carolina.
Well, you talked earlier about the Saints. The Saints at home in a night game.
That's what we're talking
Seattle
about.
Seattle at home in a night game. You got to find a pretty good reason to go against those teams.
Yeah.
I mean, they've proven.
Exactly. I just think that we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. The media and all the talk about how dominant this Seattle team is, how no one will be able to beat them if they get home field advantage. Granted, I get it. It's one of the strongest home field advantages in the NFL. Maybe the strongest. Maybe number one.
Gillette too? Or no, New Orleans too.
I think New Orleans too. I think both will have an argument.
Yeah.
I mean, before last year, you throw it out for New Orleans. You go back, and this is a team that's Peyton, as a head coach, has covered 10 straight in New Orleans, 10 or 11 straight there. You just bet them when they play at home.
I'll make the case that when both teams, if they do have a down year, the Seattle home field is bigger.
Yeah.
Because they're more loyal.
Agree.
Even though they're loyal, good fans in New Orleans, their root blows off.
Agree, because they have nothing else to do in Seattle.
Yes, in Seattle.
You know what I mean? As a point of, New Orleans.
A lot of fun to be had in New Orleans.
And if your team isn't good, you're still having a good time.
Yeah.
But in Seattle, they live for that team. That's what they have to do. It rains, man. It rains. There's not much to do there.
I like VR's pick. Brian?
If it's 3, yes. I don't think it'll be 3.
It's still 3. Let's grab it before it exits. Make it official.
You probably don't need 3. Last week I said about the Saints, it was the chalky white Boardwalk Empire special. Don't bet this late to 7. Please it. We wanted a pleaser with the Saints. I think that covered. This week, please the Houston Texans. Money line sprinkle all over. Houston wins this game by a touchdown over Seattle, the overhyped Seattle Seahawks. Let me see them beat a couple good teams before we start crowning them the NFC champs, because so far they haven't beaten any good team. They've beaten a Carolina team that, how many wins does Carolina have? They've beaten a San Fran team. How many wins does San Fran have? And they beat a Jacksonville team. How many wins do they have? I think that's a combined 2-9 record, 2-7, 2-6.
You do know when you beat somebody,
that's your loss, of course. But who have they beaten? Beat somebody legit. Beat Houston this week. And maybe I'll change my tune. But that's not happening, so we don't have to worry about that.
I like it.
Seattle's 3-1 after this week. Houston's 3-1 after this week. And if you're going to bet Seattle, you better do it when they're at home. They don't win on the road.
Before we talk about intro, I like the play. Before we intro into the final play of Monday Night Football, Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to set an over-under number. I want you guys to let me know what you make it. Obviously,
1.5.
1.5 is my number.
1.5.
1.5 is the number.
Under.
I guarantee you will not win 1.5.
I'll go under.
You're going to go. I have an under 1.5. Brian?
Playing over 1.5.
I got to go under.
You go under.
I have to go under.
You're going under also?
From what I've seen.
I'm not going to touch it.
So you have no opinion. I was hoping to say over because I was going to take the bet. I even though obviously, I'm going over. I'm going over to the folks at Cantor. I want to say I want a Jacksonville Jaguar. How many games they're going to win the rest of the year? It would be a great prop. What's going to be more of? Bronco losses or Jacksonville wins?
Well, they usually do that after a few weeks. They'll say, will a team go undefeated?
Yeah. Like they even had the Detroit Lions.
Jimmy Vaccaro has single-handedly gotten his salary paid for with that prop alone because everybody goes and bets.
Yeah, they'll be 16-0.
They bet 8-1, then they bet 6-1, then they bet 5-1, and then the last team loses and they book takes all the money. It's just amazing how it seems like, someone can do it. New England did it that one year. They never do. We're going to be talking about an undefeated team Monday night.
New Orleans.
Agent Cook and New Orleans Saints, your NFC champion, your Super Bowl champion. VR and I both gave it to you before the season started. We also said Pittsburgh was going to make a run. Hey, we'll take one.
That's all you need.
You only need one. 20-1.
You only need one.
Stay with us. Pregame.tv.
I love it.